Hi everyone, sorry, we're just doing a little bit of technical stuff just to make sure we're all up and running where we should be. Okay. You let me know when you're ready, Freya?
Yep, go.
Okay, all right. So welcome everybody. We are having another Facebook Live on ICAN, and it's really wonderful. This evening we have got Lisa from Funda Nenja. So Funda Nenja is one of our ICAN members, and I'm going to ask Lisa to actually tell us a little bit about, first of all, who she is and who Funda Nenja is. And yeah, you can start us off like that.
Cool, thank you. Thanks for inviting me to chat with you guys tonight. Basically, okay, my name is Lisa Button, and I'm the project administrator for Funda Nenja. Funda Nenja is a township dog training initiative based in Apopomeni Township, which is just outside Howick, KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. It started about 12 years ago with a handful of kids and dogs, with the idea that the children, it's predominantly quite a poverty-stricken area, and the children had no idea how to handle their dogs, how to train their dogs, how to take care of them. So the idea was to bring a group of children together and give them basic education on how to train their dogs using positive reinforcement. That started with about 10 dogs and about 3 volunteers running what was supposed to be a holiday workshop.
Okay.
And it grew. And it's grown beyond anybody's wildest dreams. And as I said, we've been going for almost 12 years now, and we've got, on a Good Friday, we have almost 100 children and their dogs from the local community who bring their dogs through for training. We have a veterinary clinic as well, which we offer. We treat all the dogs for ticks and fleas, for general skin conditions, ear and eye infections, all the minor stuff. We do free rabies vaccinations, and we do offer 5-in-1 vaccinations if they are prepared to pay for them, because they're not cheap, and it's not something that we can just afford to dish out. And then any sort of major medical problems, if there's a really ill dog or broken leg or something that needs more extensive veterinary treatment, then we take them through to one of our private vets in the area. So it's basically an education program where we strive to teach these children that their dogs have feelings and emotions just like humans do, because a lot of them, when they arrive with their dog, they don't have a name for the dog because they don't believe, they were never taught that the dog needs a name. It's just an object. So that's the starting point. You've got to name your dog. So we have lots of puppies. Everybody names their dog Puppy. And Puppy and Danger and Lion, those are very common ones.
Okay.
So they arrive for the first time, they get registered, we take down their details, and then we have an education officer who will go and do home visits to all those kids who join the program. So she'll make sure that the dog is not on a short chain, that it has adequate shelter, that it has water, etc., etc. If they're lacking in some of those, then she will educate them. She'll leave them with flyers and information on what the dog's basic needs are at home, and she will give them a week to make improvements. If in a week's time she goes back and no improvements have been made, we then call in the SPCA, because then they come in a uniform and it's a little bit more authoritative, and they seem to take them a lot more seriously. The SPCA will then give them a warning and say, if this and that is not corrected, your dog will be confiscated. So that's normally when they say, oh, we really better listen. And then we also have a social worker, because we realize that you can't help only the dogs. We often have, as I said, a lot of these kids come from very poor families, and we do see a lot of abuse, either physical or emotional abuse. And if there's a child who we see repeatedly being harsh with his dog, if he's kicking it or smacking it or being aggressive with it, and we have explained to him that that's not okay, but that behavior continues, we then start looking a little bit deeper, and very often you find that that child is abused at home. So we realized that we couldn't just fix the dog without fixing the child. And that's when we had to develop the second part of our program, which is our social welfare program. And we have a social worker who works with the education officer, and they do home visits. And the education officer will check on the welfare of the dogs, and the social worker will work with the family. So she does counseling and helps with the application of social grants and that kind of thing. So yeah, basically the Funda Nenja program is a one welfare approach where we cover both the animal and the social welfare. And that's kind of Funda Nenja in a nutshell. There's obviously lots of nitty-gritties and different areas. We do workshops for the kids. We have instructors who are boys from the township who have gone through the program themselves, and then they are trained to become an instructor, and then they have their own class. So the dogs are all split up into different classes, starting with your baby puppy class and going up to your more advanced class, the kids who've been with us for longer. And each of those instructors will take one of those classes and do the training. And they're each given a little bag of treats when they arrive, so they've got their training treats for the day.
Yeah, it's quite a fantastic success story. I mean, starting with 10 dogs and ending up with 100.
Yeah.
Is it still growing, or is the area kind of self-limiting, and as in, well, that's how many people live in the area, so it's kind of, you've reached the limit?
No, we haven't even come close to. There's thousands of dogs. The area is massive, and it's growing all the time. So what we find is a lot of kids drop out. Either the kids lose interest as they become teenagers, teenage boys. It's not so cool anymore to hang out with the younger kids at dog school. Obviously the death rate in the dogs is high. Parvo is rife, parvo and distemper, and not, the education on that side is what we're also trying to push, is that if you've had a dog with parvo, you can't just go and get another puppy, because your parvo is in your ground, it's in the area, and your next puppy, if it's not vaccinated, is going to die as well. So the death rate is quite high. A lot of the dogs who are not chained get out of their properties and get hit by a car. Being a poverty-stricken area, there's a lot of rubbish. There's rats. People use rat poison to keep the rats under control. The dogs eating poisoned rats or eating rat poison. So yeah, the fatalities are quite high. So we've constantly got kids dropping out and new kids joining. We had an intake day today, actually, and I think we had, I didn't see the final numbers, but we must have had close to 30 children and dogs that joined for the first time. So again, some kids join expecting something that it's not, and they might not come back. A lot of kids sometimes just want to see what they're going to get, what free handouts are going to be there. But those kids that do come back, we find they generally stick with the program, and they really genuinely want to learn. And we've had some really great success. Some of the kids in the top class, I mean, I saw a boy doing a sit-stay today, and he must have left his dog almost 20 meters, and the dog just sat there beautifully waiting for him. It was really impressive and nice to see. A young kid with zero skills has just been through the program. Yeah. So it was really good to see something like that.
Oh, that's fantastic. So talking about the training then, what training methods do you use and why?
Well, we only use positive reinforcement training, and the reason why is because there's so much aggression, violence in the community, and that's all the kids grow up knowing. All they know is hitting and shouting and fighting, and we're trying to break that mindset. We're trying to show them that there is a kinder way to deal with problems, and we could use the dogs and the positive reinforcement training to show them that they can be patient and persevere and reward the correct behavior and ignore the incorrect behavior. And that does change, as you ladies know, it does change your mindset. It puts you into a much more positive frame of mind. And then they take that home with them, and hopefully they become more compassionate and more gentle as they become adults.
It's actually very interesting. I remember quite a few years ago there was a program. It was the Humane Education Trust that used to go into some of our schools, and they used to work with children also from previously disadvantaged areas. And what they found was, at the beginning of a course, they would ask the children to record instances or report instances of abuse in their home or in their neighborhood. Right. And there would be nothing. The children wouldn't put anything down. And then once they'd been through the program, they would ask them to fill in the same form afterwards, and they'd suddenly start reporting all these things. And they said it was literally because until somebody explained it to them, they didn't know that that was abuse. They didn't know that it was not.
It was just the norm. Yeah, it was normal life for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that holistic, approach of, as you say, it's not just about the dogs, it's also about the people. It's about changing. I think must be why your program is so successful. It's really incredible, and it is so important.
Yeah. And it's rewarding. There's one little girl that comes to mind. She's had quite a difficult dog that she's brought through since it was a puppy. It grew into quite a large dog, and it was quite a handful. It was really exuberant and very strong, and she struggled. I mean, she cried through most classes because her hand was so small. This dog used to pull so much, and she was little. And she told me the other day that she actually stopped the driver that takes the kids to school. She made the lady stop the car because she saw a very small puppy on a chain in somebody's yard. And she got out the car and went and spoke to the owners and told them that it's against the law to chain the puppy. It needs food, it needs water, it needs a shelter. And she said, I'm coming back in 2 days, and if we haven't changed, I'm calling the police.
Wow.
And this is just through the education that she's received at Funda Nenja. And then the other day, she saw the same kid saw some children hitting a chicken with some sticks, and she chased them off, and she took the chicken home and bandaged its leg, and then took it back to its owners, and then went back and checked on it the next day and took the bandage off. And that's what we want to create. We want to create that compassion and that empathy with the kids that previously just didn't exist.
And it seems to have others. Sorry, Freya.
The kindness is contagious as well, isn't it? Because
yes,
people go home being kind, and other people will see that and want to emulate it. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it has incredible sort of spin-offs, I think. I've seen some of your videos that you've put up with some of the parents who just say what a difference it's made in their children's lives, just with regards to their attitude to responsibility, that they're better at doing their homework, or their attitude to their parents has changed. I don't know if you have any interesting stories about that.
We haven't had any recently. I think mainly because we just moved from one school to another. It was quite an epic move. So we're still settling, and the kids are still sort of coming back. So we haven't had any parent visits, but we have in the past had some really wonderful testaments from parents saying how their kids, just their general attitudes have changed through Funda Nenja. And they've said it's just because the child has been at Funda Nenja, there was no other reason. So it definitely has a really beneficial impact in that area.
So ultimately, what is the sort of the overarching goal of Funda Nenja? I mean, you have explained a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I think our main goal is a phrase that we like to use is creating a compassionate community. Compassion and empathy and kindness. It's just lacking so much generally with, throughout the world, not only in South Africa. And that's what we want to create. We want these kids to understand that there is a better way to treat your animals. And in doing so, they will treat fellow humans, hopefully, in a better way and be more compassionate. And that's ultimately our main game.
And so the services you offer, you've mentioned a few. So aside from the training, there's also sort of humane education for the children. There's social workers, veterinary contacts.
There's the humane education, obviously in the school during the classes, and then we do we were doing it once a month. We're trying to increase it now to do more workshops for the kids where they're told to come to Funda Nenja without their dogs, a specific class on a specific Friday, and they go into our classroom and they actually have a theory lesson where they can focus and concentrate without the dog being a distraction. And there we cover things like the 5 freedoms, dog fighting, all those sort of things that we can't cover during a class, during a Funda Nenja class. And then we've got the free veterinary, the primary veterinary clinic, which covers all the rabies and the whatever. We've also got the free sterilization clinic. We do that once a month. So we have a great vet team there that runs the steri clinics. Yeah, and then the home visits, the social welfare. And then we run things, on occasion, like a jumble sale. We'll collect secondhand clothing and kitchenware and shoes and things like that. And then we'll hold a jumble sale where the items are sold for next to nothing, like starting at 2 rand, 5 rand for an item. So we try and do things like that as well. And then we do workshops for our instructors to try and upskill them to try and improve their training techniques. Because, these are young boys that have got no skills when it comes to teaching other children. They had nothing in the past. So we've got to explain to them how to keep the kids engaged, how to, if you've got a problem child in your class, how to deal with them. If there's a problem dog in the class, what to do with it. If there's dogs fighting, how to prevent that. So we do workshops for the instructors as well to keep upskilling them as well. And that's an ongoing thing, because we found that once the boys have finished school, once the instructors have finished school, they need to go off and find full-time employment. So we're constantly training up new youngsters and bringing them through the program. So that upskilling in those workshops it's an ongoing thing.
And do you find that some of the skills that the instructors learn help them then in finding jobs at all?
Yes, yeah, we've had some great successes. We've got there's 2 guys working at the veterinary clinics, in 2 different veterinary clinics that were with Funda Nenja. We've got another one that works at a boarding kennel and dog parlor. There's another one at another dog parlor. We've got one guy who's working with another dog trainer during the week. And we've had guys going up to Joburg and doing courses up there with there's a canine security firm. So it definitely does help them in finding long-term employment in the animal related industries.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. And I see you've also, even in some other areas, occasionally sort of helped children. I think there was, if they have a specific need, to make it, people aware about it. To be able to sort of reach their goal or reach their dream.
Yes. Yeah, we've got 2 children that we actually put through private school. They were in a really desperate, rundown school in Mpopomeni that they were going nowhere. There was no personal attention, very basic education. And we noticed that they were sort of above the norm with the sort of intellect. And we said, well, let's try and raise some funds for these children and see if we can get them into a better school. And we had an overwhelming response. And this is their 2nd year they're now in the private school, and they're doing so well. And yeah, it's been really, really great. We've also helped a family who was living in a tiny, tiny little tin house. It was 4 meters by 4 meters, 4 people living in this tin house. You can imagine in the middle of summer how hot that little tin house got. It was like a little oven. And we managed to supply them with a 2-bedroom or 3. It's a 2-bedroom and a lounge, wooden structure, wooden house, which is probably about 10 times the size of what they had. So yeah, we do branch out and help specific families when they need. We've helped other people. We do food parcels on a regular basis because especially with COVID, with lockdown, a lot of people lost their jobs. So the poverty is even worse now than it was before. Yeah. So we've helped with a lot of food parcels and hygiene packs and things like that.
Yeah, it must be amazing to be in that position where you have that relationship with the community, so that you are able to assist. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well, just last night I had 2 phone calls from people in the community whose dogs were ill, and they said, please, we can't get through to the SPCA. And I, phoned the SPCA direct on the lady's cell number, and she arranged for inspectors to go out and pick the puppies up.
Okay.
So they know that they can, they can count on us to help them.
So those are a lot of the wonderful things, but what are some of your challenges?
There's always challenges, aren't there? I think for some of us, for me, one of the biggest challenges is the language barrier. You know, they're all Zulu-speaking kids, and we're English-speaking, and my Zulu is very limited. So that's definitely a challenge, is trying to communicate. And a lot of the little kids don't speak English either. So always got to grab an interpreter and please tell me what this child is asking me. And then, yeah, as I said earlier, a lot of the dogs die. You know, we lose a lot. And we would like to see some of those dogs. You can see real potential in the dog and the child, and you really want them to go far and to make it up into the top class. And then the child comes with a new dog, and you say, what happened to Fido? And oh no, he got hit by a car, you know. And it's devastating, especially when they become one of your favorites. And then funding is obviously an ongoing challenge. And especially now with COVID, we're finding a lot of the applications that we're submitting are being turned down because the organizations have had an influx of applications and they just can't obviously fund everybody. So that's definitely a challenge. And then just, you know, the weather is always a challenge. We train out on a big field. We got rained out today, luckily right at the end of class, with everybody diving for cover where they could. Yeah, and I think just the whole community, it's not really a challenge, but just dealing with the poverty and the kids, the lack of education, that can be a challenge. You know, you've got to try and do what you can when you can, and it's sometimes hard to turn your back on some of them. The child's got no money, but he needs a collar and a lead for his dog. You know, and we don't dish out things for free. They are expected to pay for something, but you know, every now and again you'll see this little 5-year-old child with this gorgeous puppy, and he's got a piece of rope around his neck. You know, so yeah, we do try and dish out occasionally when we can. But yeah, you know, it's a constant struggle getting collars and leads donated. We're very fortunate with dog food. We have monthly dog food that's a regular monthly donation. But collars and leads we're always needing. We've got plenty dog beds. People seem to be very keen to dish out their secondhand dog beds. And then the kennels, we supply dog kennels as well. Those we get made. They're very nice wooden kennels, and we give them a free blanket every time they buy a kennel. But yeah, the challenges, I would say, you know, are varied, but as the funding is probably the biggest challenge, trying to constantly keep finding new funders, because not all the funders want to continue funding you for too long down the line. So that's probably our biggest challenge. Okay.
So how are some of the ways maybe that we can help you as ICAN, as a member of ICAN? Are there things that we can do for you? Maybe, I don't know.
I think just spreading the word is probably the best, because the more people hear about us, you know, it opens up more opportunities for people to assist us with funding. You know, you might just suddenly find somebody who's got a lot of money sitting in their bank account, not knowing what to do with it, and say, oh, I like this organization. We just think the more people out there know about Funda Nenja, the better it is for us. So that's probably, and then obviously if people want to send us things, we normally from a logistics thing, if people are not living in the area, they can use Take a Lot if they want to donate specific items. A lot of people don't like sending cash because they don't know where it's going to be spent. So we say, you know, collars and leads, for instance, something we're short on at the moment. So if you want to go into Take a Lot and order some collars and leads and send them to us, that's great. That's always helpful.
Okay. And I believe, I mean, also it would only apply, unfortunately, to people in South Africa, but you are on the My School program as well.
Yes.
So for those in South Africa, if you've got your My School card, you can make Funda Nenja a beneficiary. I know you're one of my beneficiaries on my card. So yeah, I mean, that is a great way to get funding, but it's again awareness to make people aware that that is an option, that they can do that way. Yes. And it costs them nothing to do that.
And it's pretty simple to do it.
So but yeah, and it's certainly an organization that is so worth promoting, because it is just that holistic you know, looking after the whole community, and that humane education that not just South Africa, as you say, but the whole world really needs. That if we can be kind in the way that we treat animals, then hopefully we can be kind in the way that we treat each other as well.
And the children are our future. That's primarily why we focus on the children, because the adults we find are so set in their ways. You know, they've done that, they've treated animals like that since they were tiny. But the children we can change. It's not too late to change their mindset. A lot of the parents, I'm not saying it's too late for them, but it's harder to change an adult's attitude. And especially the adults don't come to class as much. We have very few adults. It's 90% kids. So you change the child's way of looking at it, and then they change as they grow. And hopefully if they stay with the program long enough, then by the time they leave, it's ingrained in them. So, and we also, something else I left out is when the new kids start, they actually get an information pack, which is various things on how to look after the dog at home, how many times to feed puppies, how not to hold your puppy, pick it up by the legs, etc. And then the state issues booklets on rabies awareness and that kind of thing. So they get to take all that home. So even if they don't come back, they've got all that literature that hopefully, you know, something will sink in.
Yeah.
Come back.
Yeah, I mean, there've been some really sort of heartwarming things that I've seen, you know, where there's been a dog that, you know, well, you go to visit somebody's house and there the dog is sleeping on the bed or something, which is it's just completely different to what you'd normally expect. So just to see those, I mean, to me, that is such a huge fundamental change.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, I was actually in one of the areas close to us today, and watching a dog curled up in the dust with some chickens. Chicken friends. And yeah, I know to see dogs, you know, coming into the home and being part of the family is really incredible.
No, the one child told me a while ago that he needed a bigger bed, but there was no space because his dog's bed was in the bedroom, and there was no space for him to get a bigger bed, so he'll just keep his small bed.
Well, there you go. He's got the right priorities.
Absolutely. No, it's very heartwarming. And, you know, a lot of them, you can see how much the dogs care for their owners. You know, when we're talking to the owners, the dog will jump up and sort of almost hug, you know, how they put their front legs around the owner, and they really do care. And you can just see from the way they treat the dog, and the dog's not fearful of them, that you know that dog is loved and well taken care of.
Yeah, no, that's really wonderful.
And we're seeing very, very few strays in Mpopomeni nowadays. And something interesting, Kevin LaRue is the head of the rabies department for the state. And he's been to every township there is throughout South Africa, and I think even outside of South Africa. And he said that he has never seen dogs in such good condition as they are in Mpopomeni. And he said he knows for a fact that is through the work that Funda Nenja has done. He said without a doubt. He said because it's the only program like that's as well established. And he said it's the only township where the dogs, you don't find these mangy, scrawny dogs running through the township, you know, either thrown away or just breeding willy-nilly in the streets and rummaging through people's rubbish. You just don't see that. And you know, for those of us in South Africa, we know that that's a common sight. When you drive through any township, that's what you see. And you just don't see that anymore in Mpopomeni. It's definitely changed.
Yeah, and that is incredible. That is a huge success. So yeah, well done. It's really amazing. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It was really great to be able to highlight Funda Nenja. Sorry, Freya, you're a little bit faint there. I don't know if you can.
No, I can't hear you, Freya.
Amazing chat. I've really enjoyed watching this.
Great, thank you.
We had a hello from Helen White, by the way. She said, "Well done, Funda Nenja." Okay.
Great,
Thank you.
But yeah, we will share. Obviously, Funda Nenja is tagged in this post, and we will continue to share your stories and to highlight Funda Nenja, and hope that more people come out and support you and support programs like yours, and that maybe there'll be a few more Funda Nenjas in South Africa soon.
That would be awesome. Yeah, love that. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to chat to you guys.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Super. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Everything all right?
Yep. I'm just